Stop scrolling. Right now. You think you saw the whole story on Monday Night Raw, you think the cameras captured the real drama, you are dead wrong. Because what happened after Raw went off the air was nothing short of seismic, a backstage showdown so explosive it could rewrite the power structure of WWE. Triple H, the man who built today's WWE from the bones of yesterday's locker rooms, allegedly reprimanded Roman Reigns not in whispers, not with polite corporate language, but in front of people who still remember what respect looks like. And Roman, the tribal chief who walks like he owns everything, who expects people to bow and say yes, tribal chief, didn't back down. He fired back. This wasn't an awkward creative disagreement. This wasn't two guys talking. This was authority versus arrogance. This was the old guard reminding the new king that the throne isn't given, it's earned and maintained by more than merch and ratings. And you need to hear every single detail I've been able to piece together, because this sparks countless questions. Who's really running the show? Is Roman's era finally cracking? Does Triple H have the stomach to pull the plug on his own top star? If he thinks the locker room and the company need him to tell me right now in the comments, who was right, Triple H or Roman Reigns? Say why. I want opinions, and I want heat. Section 1: What we saw on camera, and why it doesn't matter on television. Monday Night Raw ended like a regular episode. Final shots, a replay package, the announce team saying their goodbyes. The crowd dispersed. Fans left the seats. The network feed cut to black. But if you think WWE's story ends when the lights dim, you don't understand the machine. Raw is a live organism. The script on TV is only a fraction of what's going on underneath. Backstage, there's an ecosystem of egos, hierarchy, and muscle memory, and right now that ecosystem has a fissure. On air, Roman Reigns looked immaculate, calm, dominant. The character has been flawless, the green sleeves, the guarded smirk, the decisiveness of a man who knows he's not just a champion, but the centerpiece. But when the cameras are off, the veneer slips. Sources tell Wrestling Zone 1 that the closing backstage moments involved a veteran talent voicing discomfort with a line Roman supposedly ad-libbed in a segment earlier, a line that crossed a respected veteran. Triple H, who oversees talent and creative direction at the highest level, confronted Roman about the lack of professional courtesy and the risk of undermining locker room morale. Now understand the significance of that. For years Roman's persona and real-life positions have blurred. He's been the poster child for the company's successes and criticisms. If Triple H reprimanded him loudly, forcefully, and in front of witnesses, that sets a precedent. It says loud and clear, nobody is above standard and nobody is immune from accountability. So why did this cause so much friction? Because Roman's response, according to our reports, was not contrition. He didn't apologize, he didn't nod, he stood his ground. Trivial question 1: Drop this early. What unscripted line from Roman this year rubbed you the wrong way? Tell us which line and why. I want specifics in the comments. Section 2: What triggered the confrontation? The on-air moment that got under skin. Let's be precise. The alleged trigger wasn't some petty backstage argument over catering. It was creative overreach on live television. During the night's main event promo, Roman, with his mic and that familiar cold confidence, reportedly added wording, a dig at a veteran that was neither cleared with creative nor respectful in tone. The veteran in question is a respected locker room voice, someone who's paid dues and who still commands respect. Sources say other wrestlers expressed indignation, because this felt less like character work and more like a personal slight on someone who helped build the business. Triple H, who watches the balance of harmony backstage like a general watches fronts, apparently had enough. The reprimand was not simply "don't do that again." The language used was heavier, a clear attempt to put Roman in his place, a reminder that leadership also includes showing respect to peers and veterans, and that irresponsible on-air liberties can create real off-air tension. Picture a scene where the coup isn't being theatrical, is being managerial, calm, precise, and ruthless with words. Roman's response, again reported by multiple insiders, was defiant. Not every top star reacts well to being put in a corner, and when you're used to being treated like the product itself, being told to moderate your behavior by someone who's the product's shepherd, well, that's combustible material. Trivial question 2: If you could ask Triple H one question about this backstage moment, what would it be? Put it in the comments and we'll read some out loud next video. Section 3: The tone. What reprimand really looks like in Stamford. You've heard the word reprimand thrown around before, and maybe you picture a conversation in a dim corridor. But context matters. This was not a private coaching session. People heard the tone. People felt the energy. When a figure like Triple H, who built NXT and has a reputation for not suffering slack, raises his voice, it resonates. It sends a message down locker room corridors faster than any memo. Triple H's past is instructive here. He is the guy who demanded excellence, who built stars by breaking them down and making them better. He is also the man who accepts that a pulse in the room is a valuable thing, and he guards it closely. To him, team discipline is not theoretical, it's actionable. So when he calls someone out, it is not about ego. It is about preservation, preserving standards, preserving credibility, and preserving the backstage culture necessary to keep the product functioning. So what did the reprimand look like according to eyewitness accounts? A measured start, then a tightening of language, then a sharp, unmistakable line drawn. Not theatrics, not posturing. It was real accountability. Triple H allegedly said things that signaled a serious business decision. The company will not tolerate behavior that destabilizes the workforce, even if that behavior comes from its biggest star. But here's the kicker: Roman's reaction didn't show compliance. He pushed back. That's where the smoke turns into a firestorm. The crowd in the arena didn't see this, but the people who matter did: backstage producers, road agents, senior talent, and they don't forget how the new order behaves. Trivial question 3: Do you think Triple H has the authority to discipline Roman? Yes or no, and why? Comment below. Section 4: Roman's response, a defensive, entitled, or strategic pushback. Multiple reports indicate Roman didn't accept the reprimand with humility. He defended his actions, potentially citing his value to the company ratings, PPV buys, audience reaction, and the financial bottom line. That's a heavy sword to bring to a conversation about locker room etiquette. Yes, I made that call, but who's going to stop me? The results speak for themselves. This type of response isn't surprising from top-level talent. Superstars often measure their right to self-direction by their marketable worth, and Roman has been marketed as an immovable object for years. But this argument "I produce, therefore I can act as I please" runs into a structural problem. WWE isn't a solo operation. Talent culture is crucial. If the locker room perceives that someone can mistreat peers with impunity, morale dips and fact irons form. Triple H, with his long view, sees this as unsustainable. What makes this moment volatile is that Roman is surrounded by men fiercely loyal to him: Paul Heyman, Solo Psycho, and his inner circle. If they perceive Triple H's reprimand as a threat to Roman's status, they will circle the wagons. If they see it as a legitimate attempt to restore balance, they may be forced to recalibrate. That's why this scene is less about one exchange and more about a potential cultural collision. Trivial question 4: Who in the bloodline is most likely to take Triple H's side? If anyone, drop a name and why. Section 5: Backstage react irons. Who stepped in, who stayed out? When a confrontation like this erupts, the backstage becomes a map of alliances. Sources say a handful of senior talents and producers moved to de-escalate after words were exchanged. Some tried diplomacy, others took a hard line. The variety of reactions tells you where loyalties lie. If veteran road agents and producers rallied behind Triple H, that indicates deeper concern about behavior undermining locker room cohesion. If more talent defended Roman, it hints at a generational divide: the money, the merch, the modern star power versus the old school respect. Remember, backstage power is not always obvious. It's exerted in quiet ways: who gets booked in specific spots, who receives policies and promotions, who gets calls returned. If Triple H's rebuke is upheld, people will notice when Roman's creative freedom is limited or when he's booked differently. Conversely, if nothing happens, the reprimand will be perceived as empty and the morale problem will compound. One source suggested a very telling detail: people who worked closely with Roman were reportedly furious at the suggestion that he had been publicly embarrassed. That alone is a marker of how serious the situation is. Pride matters, ego matters, but so does the narrative control Triple H seems intent on exercising. Section 6: What this means for the bloodline and the title picture. Let's bring this talk into the ring of speculation where we all live. If Triple H truly put Roman in his place, the company is sending a message that no one's reign is untouchable. That could lead to numerous booking possibilities: a soft approach, Roman is told to clean up his act on camera, backstage tensions cool and the bloodline continues, but with visible cracks in promos and subtle dissension in segments. A direct approach, Roman is punished in storyline, perhaps a sudden loss, or a heel turn within the stable engineered to restore locker room equilibrium and bring fresh heat to the product. A behind-the-scenes approach, creative control is tightened. Roman's mic freedom is restricted, his producers have to clear promos line by line. That would be a slower, quieter correction, but one that affects the message the audience receives. Consider the PPV calendar. A major premium live event is likely on the horizon. If the company wants to mend fences without blowing up the top dollar, the crisis might be channeled into a storyline that capitalizes on the tension while remaining in company control. But if the company feels the morale hit is severe, we could see more drastic measures: a title loss, a forced program to humble Roman, or even a long-term split of locker room loyalties into distinct factions. This is enormous. The ramifications go beyond one night. They could determine the narrative arc for months. Trivial question 5: if Roman loses his title because of this backstage heat, who should take it from him? Drop your dream pick in the comments. Section 7: the broader picture, power, control, and the future of WWE. Zoom out from the fight and you see politics. Triple H is not just a character, he's a leader trying to shepherd an entire creative and talent pipeline. He's walked the corridors of power. He knows what stability looks like and what chaos costs. Roman Reigns, meanwhile, has worn the crown so long the lines between performance and self blur. This clash is emblematic of a larger struggle in wrestling. How do you balance superstar autonomy with company vision? If this reprimand is meaningful, it will signal to all talent there are limits. That could be healthy, it could restore respect, but it could also alienate the biggest star if not handled with care. The art is in the nuance. WWE thrives on heat, but it also needs its engine to hum smoothly. Too much friction at the top can stall that engine. This is why we must watch not just what's said on the microphone, but what happens in the booking room, in the match placements, and in the long-term storytelling. The real narrative may be written in the quiet decisions: who gets pushed, who gets mic time, who's put in the title picture next. Those choices will reveal the company's true stance. Section 8: what could happen next? Possible scenarios. Let's outline a few plausible ways this could play out, ranked from most subtle to most explosive. 1. Quiet correction. Roman's promos are dialed back, lines are pre-cleared, and the reprimand becomes a wash, a cautionary tale that ends with a handshake, partly in the open and partly behind closed doors. 2. Storyline integration. The tension is turned into on-screen drama. Roman lashes out, the bloodline fractures, and a new main event program emerges. Fresh matchups, new rivalries, bigger ratings. 3. Reassignment of power. Creative control shifts in ways you can track by credits and matches. More TV time for certain producers, less creative freedom for one top star. 4. Shock move. Roman is pulled from a marquee spot or loses the title sooner than expected to make a broader point about accountability and respect, a bold decision that will split audience reaction but make headlines. 5. Escalation. The clash deepens, loyalties harden, the product becomes more volatile and unpredictable, which could be great for drama but risky for business stability. All of these are possible. Which is most likely? That depends on whether Triple H wants to fix this quietly or to leverage it to deliver a massive narrative payoff. My money is on strategy. Kurt Manager style, a mixture of correction and storytelling that protects the bottom line while satisfying the people who want real consequences. Trivial question 6: which of these scenarios do you think will happen? Pick a number 1, 5 and explain why. Section 9: what fans should watch for next. If you want to track the fallout, watch these signals carefully. Roman's promo content, watch for tone changes, apologies, or subtle digs. Every line matters now. Bloodline alignment, pay attention to who stands with Roman on camera and who sidelines themselves. Booking patterns, is Roman being protected or being put in more challenging situations that reveals intent? Producer credits and creative mentions, a shift here can be a harbinger of changes in creative control. Social media interplay, what do insiders, talent, and legends say online? Often the subtext leaks there first. If you keep your eyes on those markers, you'll see the story unfold long before the company makes any big announcement. Final take: why this matters. This is not tabloid fodder. This is a potential inflection point. When the top of the card collides with the top of the corporate ladder, we don't just get headlines, we get new directions for storylines, for locker room dynamics, and even for the financial calculus of the company. A reprimand might sound like a minor corporate act, but in WWE, where image and respect are currency, it can be catalytic. Triple H, whether you love him or hate him, cares about the company's long-term health. If he felt compelled to reprimand Roman publicly or loudly enough that rumors would spread, that means the stakes are higher than a bad promo. It says the backstage fabric was being stretched. It says someone needed to stitch it back together and not with empty words. So here's where you come in. We want to stir the pot, not because we love chaos, but because this matters to the product we care about. Tell us who you side with. Tell us why. Make your argument. Be bold. Be loud. I will be reading the hottest replies and featuring the most thoughtful and angriest comments in the next video. Don't be shy. Final trivial question, last call to engage. Who do you blame for this whole mess? Roman Reigns for overstepping, Triple H for micromanaging, or WWE creative for not setting clear boundaries? Choose one, explain in one sentence, and then tag someone who needs to see this video. Closing challenge: share this video if you want answers. If you think this moment is a turning point for WWE, smash that like button, share this video with every fan who thinks Roman is untouchable, and subscribe for the updates because this story is far from over. We'll keep digging, questioning, and bringing you the raw reality behind the curtain. And if Triple H truly has drawn a line in the sand, well, get ready. The next chapter could be the most important one yet in modern WWE history. Now drop your comments. I want heat. I want logic. I want passion. Who was right? Who was wrong? Who do you trust to run WWE into the future? The iron-fisted architect or the relentless champion? Say it now. But not really. Stay tuned for follow-ups, raw analysis, and exclusive insider updates.